So in this lecture, we will move on to the next chapter, that is chapter number 2, which is collection of data. So in the previous chapter, that is chapter 1, we have discussed about what is economics all about, what is statistics all about, and what is the relationship between statistics and economics, and how do we take the help of statistics in understanding basic economic problems. So moving on, we come to the chapter 2, that is collection of data. So when we look at the introduction to this chapter, we will see the various topics that will be discussed in this chapter. So in this chapter number 2, we will discuss about the meaning and purpose of data collection. What is data collection all about, and why do we collect data? And again, we will also discuss about the distinguishing factors between primary and secondary sources of data. Thirdly, we will come to know about the mode of collection of data, how or what are the methods in which data are collected, and we will also distinguish between census and sample surveys. And we will also discuss about the techniques of sampling. What are the various techniques and methods that is used as sampling? And lastly, we will talk about about the important sources of secondary data. Why it is important? Why secondary data is important as a source of data? So, firstly, we have sources of data and the mode of data collection that we will be discussing in the first place. So here, the purpose of our collection of data is to show evidence for reaching sound and clear solution to a problem. So what is the purpose of collection of data? Why do we collect data? It is to show the evidence or proof for reaching a sound and clear solution to a problem. So without data, we cannot formulate or we cannot have any government action to solve the basic or various economic problems. With the help of data, we are able to reach a sound and clear solution to a problem. That is why we collect data. So in this data collection, we will use some concepts, terms such as variable, observation, and data. And here it is given that data is a tool which helps in understanding problems by providing information. So basically, data is an information, provides information so that we are able to understand the problems in the most efficient way. So data is giving us or providing us information to understand the economic problem. So let's take the example of this table number 2.1, which is production of food grain in India. So X and Y we have, and then 1970, 71, this 108. So what is a variable, you may ask? Variable means the value keeps on changing. It is not constant. So here X and Y are called the variable. Here X represents the number of the year of production, and Y here represents the production or output in a particular year. So X and Y are called as the variable. And observation means each value of a variable. So variable, we have X and Y. So the value would mean, say, this is the variable X. Value means this the year. So 1970, 71, these are all observations. In the place of Y, there is Y variable, 108 million tons of produce or food grain, and 132 million tons of food grain is the observation for variable Y. So variable is XYZ, represented by XYZ, and they are not constant, they keep on changing. And these are all observations. Next, we have what are the sources of data. So basically, we have two different sources of data, that is primary data and secondary data. So primary data would mean a researcher collects data by conducting an inquiry. a researcher is directly inquiring to the people or to the group of society and gets the information directly from the interviewer. That is called primary data. Secondary data would mean once if the data have been collected, already collected and being processed. Process would mean it is already scrutinized, it is represented in a tabular form, and secondary data can be obtained from the books or the various publications, from the newspapers, documents, books written by economists, government reports. So these are all sources of secondary data, because data is already collected by someone and it is already processed, it is already being scrutinized or tabulated. So secondary data would mean not directly getting the information from the people. And next up we have, how do we collect data? So what are the ways in which we collect data? How do we collect data? For example, let's take the example of a manufacturer. So a manufacturer wants to produce a product, or how a political party decides about a candidate. Let us see these two examples. Once a manufacturer wants to produce a product, then they conduct a survey. So in this survey, they will ask questions about a particular product, or in the second example, ask questions about a candidate from a large group of people, not from a single people, but from a group of people. So the purpose of survey is to describe some characteristics, like what? In the place of manufacturer, some characteristics like price, quality, and usefulness. So a manufacturer will collect information through a survey so that they will get some characteristics such as the price, the quality, and usefulness of the product. And in case of a candidate, a political party will conduct a survey inquiring about the characteristics such as the candidate's honesty, the sincerity, and loyalty. So the purpose of survey is to collect data. Here we can see that the purpose of the collection of data is, the purpose of a survey is to collect data. And again, survey is a method of gathering information from, individuals. The purpose of survey is to collect data, and survey is a method of gathering information or characteristics from individuals from the group of people. Next topic is preparations of instrument. So what are the steps or instruments that we use to prepare a questionnaire or interview schedule? So most important type of instrument that we use in survey is questionnaire, whether it is questionnaire or interview schedule. So this is the most important type of instrument that we use in survey. So what are the various points to remember while preparing a questionnaire? Number one is, questionnaire should not be too long. So the number of questions should be as minimum as possible. Stick to the minimum question. And it should be easy to understand. The questionnaire should again be easy to understand, and try to avoid ambiguous or difficult words. Keep it to the easiest word. And questionnaire should be arranged, they should be arranged in an order such that person who is answering or a respondent should feel very comfortable to answer to your questionnaire. That is important. And then questionnaire should move from general to specific. Start from the general question and move to the specific. For example, let's take an example of a poor question. Is increase in electricity charges justified? So that is a poor question. So instead of that, you go to the, good question. Directly ask the question, is the electricity supply in your locality regular? So there is a good and a direct question instead of asking, is increase in electricity charges justified? The next point is, questions should be precise and clear. It should be very precise and clear. For example, questionnaire for precise and clear question. What percentage of your income do you spend on clothing in order to look presentable? That is a poor question. And instead of that, we can directly ask, what percentage of your income do you spend on clothing? So that is a direct, precise, and clear question. And next point is, questions should not be ambiguous. As I have mentioned, it should be, you should stick to the, easy words, not the ambiguous and difficult words. So the respondents should feel, should be able to answer to your questionnaire very correctly and clearly. You should enable the respondents to answer quickly as well as correctly and clearly. Next point is, the question should not use double negatives. We should never use double negatives in a question. The question starting with, wouldn't you or don't you should be avoided as far as possible, as they may lead to biased responses. We should avoid biasness, so we should not ask double negative questions. Next point is, the question should not be a leading question. Questions should never be a leading questions, giving them a clue to the respondent what answer they should give. So it should not be a leading questionnaire. We should not give any clue to the respondent to the answer they give. It should be purely from their own opinion, from their own perspective or opinion. We should not give any clue to what answer they should answer. Next point is, we should not indicate alternatives to the answer. The question should not indicate alternatives. For example, a poor question, would you like to do a job after college or be a housewife? So instead of asking, like that, we can ask like this, what would you like to do after college? So that is a good question which does not indicate any alternatives. Directly it is asked. And again, questionnaire may consist of close-ended and open-ended questions. So, close-ended question means it is a structured questions. It can be in the form of, yes or no, or in the form of multiple choices. An open-ended question is an unstructured. It is not constructed question, and which allow the respondents to give more opinions, more ideas, and it is not fixed. The answer is not fixed. Unlike in the form of close-ended. Close-ended, you just have to say yes or no, or they will give the multiple choice and you have to just choose it. So it is fixed. It is already structured. But in open-ended question, it is not structured. So it gives, or it allows for more opinions. You can describe your own opinions. You can give your own answers in close-ended, questions. So after discussing the preparation of instruments and the points to remember while, making a questionnaire, we will, move on to the different mode of data collection, and we will also discuss about the, difference between census and sample survey in the next lecture. Thank you.